If you're a podcast host, listen up. This one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle. And I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Hi, Rachel. Welcome to the Radical Healing. I'm so happy you're here. I'd love if you would share with us your intention for our conversation for today.
My intention is to give more hope to those that have given up on their bodies and that they're sitting in a situation and just feeling really frustrated and scared. And my goal is to give them some intellectual knowledge on why they may not be feeling well, but also help them understand that sometimes dealing with these underlying emotional stressors doesn't have to be so scary.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. My guest today is Rachel Reimer, and she's a symptom support coach. She's based in Iowa, and she does sessions virtually over the phone. So if you are not in Iowa, don't dismay. You can still work with Rachel. We're going to talk about Rachel's work, how she came into it, and then time allowing, we'll do a mini session sample for you who are listening. So, Rachel, could you describe what does it mean to be a symptom support coach?
I have found that there's this large in between area for people of, okay, when I have a physical symptom, I go to the doctor, I get it checked out, I get my lab work done, my lab work comes back and it's good. And then the doctor says, well, I think it might be stress. That's where I come in and go, okay, well, what's the specific stress point? If you have 6 different things that are stressing you out in your life, which one is it? And what's the specific belief or the specific thought or the specific part of the event that's still bothering you? And really trying to fill that need within the healthcare community, because it's such a common story that I hear, especially with people that have chronic illness or autoimmune disease. Maybe their lab markers are starting to look better, or they're just sitting in this weird in between ground of, I don't feel good, but I don't know what else to do next.
I think this describes so many people, right? Like in allopathic medicine, Western medicine, you can get things measured and counted, and your labs and your checkups, everything comes back fine. But the individual is like, I don't feel good. There has to be something else. So you are, I feel like this is definitely a place to bridge this gap. Could you tell us a bit more about emotional stress and how it contributes to physical symptoms?
So I'm a big believer that in a majority of cases that I work with personally, that there's some kind of underlying emotional stress component. And I feel that way about a majority of disease too. I mean, if you have a low lab marker like vitamin D and you're feeling like depressed during the winter, that makes sense. That's a vitamin D issue. But most diseases and conditions that come my way have some kind of underlying stress component. So what I find to be true is that the body is almost like a magnet, that anytime that we have unresolved emotional stress, just envision that that stress gets stuck to us, like magnets to a fridge or stickers or something to that degree and to that extent. The problem that happens is that when these stickers or magnets start to build up over time, that's typically the area of the body that goes on to develop physical health issues. You may have a stressor and may not develop physical health issues right now. If it's left unresolved like a wound and is just festering, though, eventually you might see some kind of physical symptom start to show up. So I work with people where they might have an emotional stressor and they might have a physical reaction to that within an hour or two. Other people take about 5 to 7 days, which is typically the average amount of time that people go on to develop some kind of health issue. And then sometimes it's like a month or a years long process. I think cancer is a really good example of that, that it's more of like this slow growing, slow mechanism compared to a cold or a flu. If you overwork yourself and you just feel drained and you feel underappreciated, that might set in within 2 to 3 days.
Wow. Do you find that certain emotions are closely related or even directly related to specific conditions or symptoms? Do you see patterns there?
Yes, to me, anytime someone gives me a diagnosis that they have, it's almost like a personality, like, hey, okay, I get to kind of know your inner workings. So, for example, someone that has hypothyroid, like super common within like women 25 plus. Typically, if a woman has hypothyroidism and she's doing all the right things, she's on the medication, she's watching her diet, and it's still just not getting better, it's normally some kind of unresolved rage around men, normally a man that they've been in a romantic relationship with. Low back pain, just standard low back pain, is something that makes you feel like you don't have any kind of stability in your life. Typically in men, that is financial concerns. With women, it's more of emotional safety of I don't feel safe in my house when this person loses their temper. So there's so many different diseases that correspond to different emotional beliefs and patterns. Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, has a really good foundational piece by piece of this disease typically equals this emotional stressor. So my work really expands upon her work of, okay, this is typically or a general idea of normally what this is. And then I really pinpoint and narrow down what's the specific time or what's the specific event that led to this creation of this belief or that still isn't quite resolved yet. Because I mean, hypothyroidism, and then you have unresolved rage with a man. I think some women listening to this podcast are like, cool, where do I start with that? There's
Yeah.
so many incidents of that, Rachel, and that's where I come in and try to narrow that down on a specific incident or specific fight that's still bothering them.
So is it really relevant and important that you find a specific time where that originated, or do you help them see the pattern, or how do you help people work through that once well, maybe am I skipping a step? You help, so they come in and they tell you their diagnosis, right? Or that they describe their symptoms. And then what kind of steps do you take them through to help them identify the emotion that is underlying?
It really depends upon the case. There's two clear-cut ways to approach that. So let's say if I have someone that just has like 20 different symptoms going on, it's going to be very hard to even get a straight answer out of them just because they don't feel well. And people with chronic illness, like that thought pattern is kind of all over the place. So I normally just start on the feeling level of whatever symptom you're struggling with. Let's say it's right knee pain. I want you to just hold on to your right knee, and I want you to envision you're giving that right knee a microphone and you're just going to let it talk for 10 minutes. And we're just going to try to find some common patterns of whatever that right knee said. And when I walk someone through that exercise, I like to be really clear that this is not a logical, intellectual exercise. This is more of write down anything that comes up unfiltered. Your knee could be saying some off the wall stuff. I don't really care what it's saying as long as it feels really truly heard and understood, which is the desire of all human beings. I have found that that tends to be when the physical symptoms start to result. So my more complex chronic cases, it's just more of start with the symptom, actually let the symptom talk rather than telling it to shut up, which is such a common
Mhm.
thing in Western culture, and
Mhm.
let it talk until it's done. And most likely by the end of that, you'll find some kind of relief with the physical symptom that you've had. Let's say if it's someone that doesn't have chronic illness and it's just this weird random like right shoulder pain that's just popped up over the past 2 weeks, everything else feels pretty good. Then we'll normally go in and examine, okay, what was going on maybe 6 to 7 weeks ago? And they just kind of walk me through their calendar. And then from my perspective, as they're walking me through their calendar, I'll go, you know what? I want you to stop there. And then I want you to tell me about this event. Or when I'm really sitting with your right shoulder case, what's coming up is this specific year and the specific patterning around this kind of family environment. When I give you that information, what shows up for you? So it's very much like detective work of just listening to as much case history as someone has and that they're willing to give me, and try to track down what exactly is going on. Those are for more clear-cut, definitive cases where people feel like they can think straight and that they're not completely overwhelmed by their physical symptoms.
Well, this is a fantastic entry point. Um, I love that. I want to play. Can I play?
Absolutely. I'm all about play.
Yeah, me too. And I love being the experiment. I like alternative therapy modalities. Obviously, that's why I have this show. But this particular modality is really interesting to me. I've looked into energy healing, like with Bradley Nelson, if you know of him. Studied some of his methodologies. It's like a little bit of a different approach. This is like more accessible. I think it's like his system is more complex. I really like the simplicity of how you've just stated the steps. But I do have a thing, if I can share it with you.
Please go for it.
Okay. I have this like pressure on my chest, and it's like a presence of a pressure. And nothing that I do in the day, like I could have the most normal day and I will still notice it. But if I have a really intense day, it's like can be excruciating, and it feels like pinching, like right on my rib cage over my heart space. It's like this, it feels like metal, like a pinching metal. And I used to, like when I was drinking all the time, I don't, for those who are longtime listeners of this show know that I've healed my alcohol use disorder, but that was one of the things I would say, okay, I have this pinch in my chest. I need to function for the rest of the day. I'm going to allow myself to drink to numb it out. So it was like this permission slip I gave myself for this physical pain. The alcohol would make it worse the next day. And it was just this cycle. Now I don't give myself permission to try and remedy it that way, but I'm always interested in, well, what is this? You know, like I'm very healthy. I feel like I take good care of myself. What is this? I feel like it is some sort of stuck energy or stuck thing. And a little bit of backstory. At my wedding, we got married on a volcanic island, and there was like lots of people, lots of energy, lots of partying. And when I left the island is the kind of the first time I noticed it. And my acupuncturist said that I had had like an energy or like an entity attached to me. And I did a session with him where like I felt a whoosh through my body, and like a glass of water knocked over on the table that was like 5 feet away from us and I hadn't touched it, like a thing like left me. But I felt, and that was relieving, but it's like there's this thing on my chest still that just feels like pressure. So that's my symptom. I don't know. I can't think of like anything else physically that I can relate it to. But what would be the next step for me?
Just
Or
a few follow-up questions before I get into next step. When you say that you have a pressure on your chest, does it feel like it's in between the ribs? Almost like if you're making homemade pasta, that tissue in between the ribs, if you're cranking the wheel, feels very tender? Or does it feel like it's just on top of it, like someone's just got done doing CPR on you and you're like, wow, that really hurts?
both of those visuals actually feel like they apply. It feels like a grinding kind of.
Okay.
It feels metallic. Um, it's like a bear trap kind of comes together.
Okay, so here's what information comes up on my end, and I'm actually so glad that you mentioned the symptom because this is what I was going to bring up on my own if you didn't bring it up. So we're on the same page already, and I think this is ready to finally be dealt with. And I think that's important to realize too, is that sometimes I'll see something and I'll go, hey, I think this would be really helpful to work on, and someone's just not ready to do that yet. And there's also this thing called divine timing that we have no control over as human beings. And so it's really mashing up with, what does someone say that they're ready to work on? And on that spiritual end, do I feel like that they're ready to finally let it go? And I think this is the perfect combination for you to work on both of those things, that I think you're emotionally ready to do it since you brought it up. And also that was what I was guided to work on today. So super happy to address that. From my perspective, emotionally, I think this has to do with some unresolved things with mom. And typically when someone describes chest pain or chest issues, especially if their ribs are involved, the imagery that I like to give them is, imagine that there's a bird in the cage, and the rib cage is the cage that the bird is in. The bird is the heart. And almost envision that someone has their hands squeezed around that cage and they're shaking the cage trying to get it open. And that can typically happen when, like your mother in this case, she might be really angry with you and you just don't feel safe to be around her, that there may be a specific event involved. Since you did mention a specific event, that's something that I really like to work with. So on your wedding day, and sure, there might be a physical component with, maybe you were exposed to something, but from an emotional standpoint on your wedding day, how does it feel like your mother had her hands around that bird cage or around your rib cage, where you did not feel safe to be around her on that day?
Wow, that's a deep question. I will say that I'm already like expressing tears, and it just feels like good, like they're just coming out. Um, and I will say though, I really, really love my mom, and I will say we're extremely different, in my opinion, in like our ideals and values of like personal expression. But to answer that question, my mom has like a nervousness, um, and feels, I don't want to make up how my mom feels, but she has like a nervousness that's like worrisome. And then she worries, and then you feel that worry, even though there's nothing to necessarily be worried about. Like there really wasn't an incident I can think of, like just teeny things. Like she was stressed out. Like I live in Spain, and she was like anxious about the language barrier and not being able to like communicate her needs, because she speaks English and everyone speaks Spanish there for the most part. Um, she's has like some anxiety. Um, I'm thinking about now, like I felt like I did need to make sure that she was okay. She, like I told her she needed to, that like tomorrow she would need to check out of where she was staying, and like she got really upset, and she's like, "What? You're just now telling me this?" But I was like, "It's like 24 hours from now." Like this like kind of like hyper sensitive anxiousness that like I don't know where it's coming from. Like there's not an inciting incident often. But maybe to answer that question deeper, like I'm a bit more wild and like freewheeling than my mom is, obviously, but maybe more than she would like her daughter to be. And like definitely felt that way when I was young growing up. Like she wanted me to be in her religion. Like I'm really um, whimsical and like weird even, and I just never felt like I belonged there. I felt like I had to go there. That was a big chasm for us, for a long time, until it just kind of like wore away. But actually now that I'm saying it, I feel like a bleh, like a
Mm-hmm.
like a blob thing coming up. Like I feel like, mom, if you're listening to this, I love you. My mom's a very lovely person, for anyone listening. But I feel like the religion piece kept put like a distance between my mom and I. Oh my God, it's making me really sad. um, so there must be something here. Um, yeah, for maybe decades, like she baptized me in her religion. And I know like she was just doing what she felt was right for her kids, but like it went wrong, I must say. Like for me and like my spirit, I felt so like unaccepted, like I couldn't be myself in this place of worship. It felt judgmental to me. It didn't feel like there was a place for women. Like I had a lot of issues with it, like morally and as who I was in this place where I didn't want to be. And like my mom was like on the side of the place, and like I felt like I had to force myself into it, but I didn't want to be there at all. I didn't want to do it. Um, and like I love my mom deeply, and I feel like there's this real I'll call it a like a it's like a language barrier. It's like a lack of uh, uh, a complexity in our communication because of this filter that she has and that I didn't ever want, but was like made to have when I was younger. And my wedding was real hippie. We like didn't get married in a church. They like our friend married us. We like tied our hands. We like made up our own ceremony, my husband and I, which felt great to me. And I to think of it now, like I didn't ask her opinion of any of it, but maybe there was something there of like this wasn't what she had envisioned for her daughter, or like the I don't know, but it definitely feels like there's this chasm of religious belief that like puts something around her, or it's like between us, which I actually
Here's
haven't
my
talked about this in a long time. Yes, I'd love to hear what you intuit.
Thank you for going into depth with that. That's really helpful on my end. So I heard a lot of common themes on fear. Underneath that, as in your mom carries a lot of fear. Underneath that, what I heard was there's a resentment that she is not able to give me guidance or direction that I've wanted in a parent, and that I have almost had to step in and be the guidance and direction for her, that it's been backwards, and that I'm upset by that and that I'm resentful by that. So, with that image of your mom getting really upset with the checking out at the hotel, I want you to just go back there for a moment and I want you to tell me on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being the most severe and 0 being not at all, how much does that event still bother you when you picture that checking out event?
I don't know that it still bothers me. And I live like on another continent from my mom, so I don't have these encounters with her, but often. I don't know that it still bothers me, but I just was like really surprised at her reaction. Um, of
Let
like,
me
yeah, go
let me
ahead.
phrase it like this. So, and this is a really important part of this work with your body as well, is that there's a intellectual, this doesn't bother me because of X, Y, and Z, like you've thought it out and rationalized it. And then there's an emotional, irrational part of us. So what I mean by that is, let's say I see someone and they don't go forward at a red light, like they're just sitting there in traffic. Intellectually, I can go, maybe they were distracted, maybe they're having a conversation with someone on the phone, maybe they just didn't even see it, maybe they're having a bad day and they're crying their eyes out and they can't even see the light change. And so I'm explaining all of that on a rational, intellectual level. The emotional, irrational part of me might be, I'm in a hurry. What's wrong with them? Why can't they just go forward and do what they're supposed to do? I suspect that there's this emotional, irrational piece of you that's still not okay with it since it was brought up. If you let the emotional, irrational part of you that's completely unfiltered and gets to have any thought and feeling that she wants, is there any piece of you where you're like, I'm not okay with the way that that went down?
Um, there's like this part that's like annoyed, I get, of like, why can't this be okay? Like,
Good.
why can't it be okay the way that I just told you? It was like I just matter of factly told her. And I was like, what? I just remember being like, what's wrong? Like, what is so wrong? What do you need to make this okay? Like, why isn't this okay? Um,
And when you sit in that voice, how much does it bother you on that 0 to 10 scale?
hmm. Well, it brings up like other things that my mom is like not okay with. And it's kind of the same. Why can't this be okay? Like, how much is this really affecting you versus what this is really about? Um,
This is perfect, Jessica. So I want to comment on this piece too. This is where people get trapped a lot, is
mm,
that once they think about one event that bothers them, then they think about, well, this is a common theme. This is all the other times that this person has done it. If you look at the whole scope of that, of this is all the other times that this person has done it, you won't be able to resolve this specific event. So what I have found to be really helpful is to work on it event by event. So this event only, when you think about of why can't she just do this, or I don't understand what the problem is.
I
When you
suddenly
think,
know what the problem is.
okay,
Okay, this is like a microcosm of like the thing that occurred to me the other day that actually happened like a long time ago. But when I think about it, like I'm pissed. I'm really mad. And at the same time, like you're saying, I intellectualize. Don't blame my mom for doing what she did. Like she did what she needed to do in that moment. So here's the thing. I was arrested when I was 21 that set off this cascade of problems for me. Like, fucking, sorry, I swear, terrible, annoying court system stuff that like followed me around for like 10 years. And now that I'm trying to get Spanish citizenship, it has come up again. And I am so pissed and like frustrated that I have to deal with this. Not to mention like all the emotional trauma that that incident caused me. But what my mom's role in it was, my younger sister was belligerently drunk and at a street fair when we were really young. Like she was a teenager and I was in my early 20s. And my mom was also there, like around in the area. And the police were like verbally harassing my sister, which I noticed. And then I had also been drinking. I don't know what I should have done with Cody Fingers, but my instinct was help my sister, defend my sister. So I went over and I said, leave her alone. What is she doing wrong? She really hadn't done anything wrong. She had like fallen over, I think, but she hadn't hurt anything or broken anything. And then the police poked me in the chest with his hand and was like, you're not allowed to talk to me like that, or whatever he said exactly, but he threatened me. And so I pushed his hand away. And then he told me that I was assaulting him and then proceeded to arrest me. And in my mind, I was still like, I haven't done anything. We haven't done anything. This is so unjust. Like, this is so unfair that I'm being arrested. What am I being arrested for? And he said, you're being arrested for resisting arrest. And I said, well, what am I resisting? I just couldn't understand. My mom then came over, got involved, and decided that she was going to let them arrest me so I could learn a lesson, or I don't know. Like her decision, though, in that moment was take her. I'll let you. They said, you can take your daughter. I guess my mom could see that I was drunk or she was mad at me or I forget the exact like energetic conflict, but she allowed them to take me and arrest me. And I went to jail for like 2 weeks and I was in this terrible like snowball effect of just trouble. I was in trouble, like probation that I went on. And it was like this really long journey to get out of that. And now here it is again as I go to, I'm 44 now. I have 4 kids. I'm trying to get European citizenship. They asked me for an FBI background check because I'm American, which brought forth my fingerprints, which brought forth a jail record that I can't expunge unless I do it in person. And I was just like, what? Oh my God, like, why is this happening? And then a part of me was like, I'm really mad at my mom for allowing that to happen. And then I immediately was like, she just did what she thought was right. It was my mistake. I went on this, but I feel like there is this resentment, I want to say, or like, I am mad about that. Like, I don't know that I would let my daughter get arrested if I could have prevented it.
Mhm.
Oh, that's the thing. Not the hotel. That's more like the thing.
Mhm. And tying it to the hotel, when you go back to that event, did it feel like mom was trying to punish you in that moment?
think so. I think it was just like her overwhelm, her anxiety, her, I think that was, I don't think she was trying to punish me there.
Connect it back to that arrested at 21 event. How are those two things similar? What's the common thread?
Mm. It's like her reaction. It's her reaction versus like a oof, like a like a parental response.
And that she didn't have your best interest at heart. Does that feel right?
I don't know. And that in the like in my wedding incident, it was just like a stressor for me to be like, how do I let my mom feel relaxed and not anxious about checking out tomorrow? Um,
Is it that she doesn't consider how her decisions affect you?
I
Or
don't
it,
know if that's true so much as like she would have tried to have chosen for me a lot when I was younger, like what I would wear and who I would hang out with and like that type of thing, like moralistic things, like a choosing for me.
okay. And with the hotel, do you feel like she was trying to choose that for you and saying you're making the wrong choice?
No, because it really wasn't my choice. I was just like relaying information. I felt like I
Got
was
it.
being responsible. I was like, this is going to happen tomorrow. Instead of tomorrow, I wasn't like, hey, you have to check out in an hour.
Let's try a visualization with this. So when your mom was really upset at the hotel at your wedding, I want you to, instead of her being a human being, I want you to turn her into a really anxious dog. Okay,
Okay.
let me know when you can picture that. You got it.
Yeah.
Okay. When you see that really anxious dog, what I want you to do is just tell it to sit calmly. And once it sits and once it's making eye contact with you, then I want you to start to gently pet it until it starts to lay down and ask for a belly rub. And you let me know when you can picture that.
That was actually kind of easy for me to
Okay,
do.
perfect. Now I want you to go back to when you were arrested at 21.
Oh,
And I want you to see your mom in there where she's super anxious. There's just a complete lack of guidance or direction on her end from your perspective. And you see her, and I want you to turn her into a dog there. Do you see how much harder it is to get her to sit?
yeah.
Okay. So I want you to stay firm with that. Of just continue to stick to that calmly and gently but assertively of sit down right here.
The dog is like way bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it's still a Scotty dog, but like a way bigger one, like Clifford size.
Okay. And just keep redirecting your focus back to that.
Okay. The dog sat.
Good. Then start to gently pet it until it starts to lay down and ask for a belly rub.
The dog is seems so big. Okay. Uh, okay, the dog laid down.
Okay.
Okay.
Now take the dog out, put your mom back, or you're in this weird matrix kind of scene where now you're rubbing her belly and then she gets
Okay.
back up.
Okay.
Cutting scenes really quick here.
Right.
Okay. So then she's like, maybe don't pet my belly anymore. And you're like, fair, won't do that.
All right.
So the energy's been reset in that conversation. Do you think she would have made a different choice had that energy been more directed and she felt more calm?
Yeah, I feel like she should have asked me. Like she didn't say anything to me.
So I think the common thread from my perspective is that I'm angry that I have to be in charge of things like that owner to dog type situation rather than your mom stepping in and providing that comfort and that guidance and that safety and security of here's the next step. Because with that dog scenario that we just did, that was the energy that you were looking for of I just want a parental role to tell me to sit here, to take a breath in and to just be, and then let's sit in this space of calmness and try to figure out a next step solution. So that's the common resentment that I'm hearing long term with your mom. And then in the short term, all we did to resolve that was went back in time and just changed how you wanted it to go, of just worked through of your concern wasn't unreasonable. What you were asking for wasn't unreasonable. We just sat here and went, okay, this is the way that I wanted it to go. And this feels so much better to me. And the interesting part is, even though we didn't change anything in real life, the emotional body hangs on to things real or perceived. And
Uh-huh.
right now, we just changed your perception of that event, that it doesn't feel near as icky anymore, or near as angry or irritating. It's just like, oh, that happened. That's the goal to aim for with these events. We're not changing it into kitties, rainbows, and unicorns. It's just like, okay, like there's a rock outside, there's a tree outside. That event happened. There's no more emotional attachment to it. Very similar to like a Buddhist principle of you're just accepting that it's there. There's no more suffering around it because you've completely accepted that new perception that I introduced to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like somatically, I'm crying and snotting, and like I love to access those parts, right? Because like I know this in my own practice and experience as well. It's like I'm carrying it. How do I tap it? How do I open the door so it can come off me or get out of me? So I'm grateful for that part of it so much. I had no idea, like I really don't like begrudge my mom in my conscious life at all. Like I really love my mom. And there's like all these things I think that just were glossed over or like, you know, in the trauma of growing up for everybody or parenting for everybody. It's like, how do we just kind of survive like without knowing what it is that we need to heal before we move on? And yeah, so I thank you so much. Like I'm really grateful to you and your skill for helping me let go of that. Also to identify it, because like if you had just asked me, do you have any issues with your mom? I'd be like, no, my mom's great, right? But
Right.
it's like the body knows more than we know, and like subconsciously, I had a glimmer of this the other day, and I was like, f that. I'm not gonna sit here and waste my energy blaming my mom for my arrest. I just need to get my citizenship, so I'm moving on, right? It's kind of like that push, push, push. But when those things occur, they're actually really interesting insights as well. That's something you hadn't thought of in a long time, and like, well, why is this arising? It's a message, it's a symbol. I really like how you work in metaphor too. It makes it a lot of it makes it more accessible. It shifts things because like that's how our subconscious works, right? Like in symbols and in metaphor, and nothing is really literal or um, like analytically descriptive. So this is like a really great skill. I know we're crunchy for time, but I want to ask you, so how do you balance between techniques and skills that you have learned and then intuitive hits that you get? And the second part of that is, what does intuition feel or look like for you when you're working with a client?
I'll answer the second part first, and I think that'll intertwine with the first part.
Hmm.
For me, the way that I work is I sit more in this contemplative, imaginative prayer, and I'm just sitting and I'm asking the question to myself of, God, what do you want me to know about this person? How can I best help them? How can I best serve them? And for me personally, what normally shows up are some of the metaphors that I share. And sometimes they're just other images or sometimes they're phrases, but a majority of the way that I work are in pictures. And I find that like the dog thing that we just did, or the bird cage, that I find that those tend to be really easy to receive rather than sometimes hashing out all the specific emotional details of the bread and butter is, I feel a lack of guidance and direction. How can I do that? Well, the opposite of what I want is more of that dog and dog owner type vibe. So I would love to just answer that question for 90 minutes straight, because I think I could, honestly, but I'll do my best to summarize it. But
Yeah.
I think it's more just prayer. You just sit and you go, God, how can I help this person? What do you want me to know? What can I relay? And help me relay it in a way that they can see it, they can understand it easily, and that they're not terrified afterwards, that it provides them some kind of hope or healing. That's normally just the perspective that I sit in. And then ask me your first question again, because I wanted to intertwine it into that.
Yeah, like how do you strike the balance between just working intuitively and then working from a skill set or a training that you have gained?
My baseline is sitting in that meditative state. And then I will ask, do you want me to have more of the spiritual perspective that comes up, or do you want me to present intellectual information? Typically, to start off a call, especially if it's someone I've never worked with before, I normally go through the analytical part of tell me your case history, tell me anything that you want me to know. Typically, when someone has this problem, this is normally what it means. And then I normally just let that emotional spiritual perspective slowly take over as comfort and trust is built throughout the session, to try to find some kind of solution with that. Of I think people like to lead with the analytical brain and slowly start to open up on that emotional or rational level, just since it's a bit more vulnerable. I
Mhm.
think too, with my sessions, I really like to bring it back to someone's relationship with their spirituality, higher power, God, whatever you want to call it. That, for example, in your specific case, there's a, um, a common theme of underlying resentment of I'm really upset that mom didn't give me the guidance or direction I was looking for, that she was making choices and decisions based out of fear. What I like to do is take that a step further and go, there's likely some wounding that you have around your higher power, with the same vibe of God or higher power, universe. I don't feel your guidance and direction. I feel like I'm on my own. I feel like I have to be in charge. I feel like you've completely abandoned me, or are nowhere to be found. If I am calling and leaving you voicemails, you are just sitting there and deleting them. I am on my own. So
Wow.
I really like to bring in that spirituality perspective too, that although we have wounding on that human level, I think that there's some wounding on the spiritual level too. And when we can work on both and merge them together at the same time, I find that's when people get the best results.
Oh my God. Oh, I love it. I know you need to go. So I would take this further as well. Maybe we could do a part two in some months. But Rachel, it's been such a pleasure to have you. I think you're in the right seat in your healing occupation, and I would love to send people your way. Please go see Rachel Reimer, Symptom Support Coach. I will put her live links. It's Ray of Light, right? Or Ray of Hope, pardon me.
Ray of Hope. Yep. www.myrayeofhope.com.
Perfect. And we'll put that link in the show notes as well on the podcast and on YouTube, so people can go and find you and work with you. Rachel, this was incredible. Thank you so much. I really value your time, and thank you for working with me and for being a guest today on the Radical Healing.
I'm just happy someone let me come in and do my thing. That's what I'm here to do. Thank you for letting me do my work.
I love it. I love it. Well, you've come to the right place. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. If this episode resonated with you, please drop us a line. We love to hear from you. And if you can think of somebody in your life who would really benefit from hearing Rachel's message, the service that she offers, please pass this podcast along to them as well. Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm wishing you all a beautiful, healthy, healing journey in your life today.
Likewise.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.